back to the Omniverse, and I'm here once again with Craig and Mikey. Craig, what are we going to be talking about?
The new and better, greatest launch of Marvel. I don't know. I'm just
fucking Christ. Now, keep in mind that when we do this video, this only came out like a week after the Fresh Start announcement came out. So keep in mind that there may have been other stuff that came, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about when more stuff comes out for it, but this is just, as of this recording, our initial thoughts from Fresh Start and everything that's been announced so far about it. So, I can't wait until, 2 weeks from now when everyone says, well, what about all this stuff you didn't talk about? Well, now you fucking know.
And we'll definitely get to it for sure.
Yeah. So, there you go. Craig, 5 months after Legacy got announced, we get Fresh Start.
Fresh Start. Interesting take on it, too. Personally, you know, we've already had conversations off camera, but to me, it's very disheartening, as I'm sure it is to a lot of people. But it is something that is definitely needed, because they need to do something. They're definitely falling behind in the comic book race for sure. But my personal feelings just, it makes me want to not, there's no reason to read anything right now. You know, that's kind of the way it makes me feel. It's like, what's the point of now, in the here and now, when I know 5 months, in just a few months' time, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like I said, Legacy only came out 5 months ago, and we're still going through that.
Right.
And the other thing with this is that it's a burnout. It's a case of burnout for everybody. And yeah, technically Marvel is beating DC in terms of sales, but that it's quantity over quality.
For sure. Definitely at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good things that could come out of this. I'm really interested to see Jason Aaron's Avengers.
Yeah.
With Ed McGuinness is hit and miss with me sometimes, but Jason Aaron, he's become the new powerhouse. I guess he's the new Marvel Golden Boy.
Yes. Now
that Bendis has gone over to do Superman with DC, which I don't know. I'm still worried about that because he's going to do Action Comics and Superman. I'm worried that because Bendis can be very
right. I'm glad he's gone, but it's unfortunate where he's headed. Because they're doing just fine without him. They don't need him, to be honest with you. Yeah. But
Civil War II was a good sign that you don't need to be here anymore, Bendis.
It's that sweet, sweet money. That's it. That movie money. That's what it is. Yeah. It's the only reason why that storyline existed.
Yeah. And honestly, I was when Bendis was first announced, I was like, the best comic would be for him would be The Question, or Gotham City Central.
Personally, I think the best comic book for him is no comic book. But if I have to pick one, I'll go with your pick on The Question, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, when you saw Jason Aaron was going to do Avengers, what did you think of that?
I liked it. It's definitely, he's going to bring definitely a good fresh take to it. The lineup is unique.
I'd say it feels Avengers. The only one that makes me go, okay, that's a new one is Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes, yeah. It's going to be Ghost Rider. I don't know or how long he's going to be in there. I can't see him being long term, but hopefully they bring and shed new light to him. He's definitely an interesting character, a good character, and especially since they've been really trying to focus on their legacy characters, if you will. This is a kind of a good way to kind of do that. Ghost Rider is not known for being in the Avengers, so this is definitely going to give Reyes his own identity.
Yeah. Because obviously, he's been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, of course.
So he needs that limelight. Doctor Strange, he's been in Avengers before.
Of course.
She-Hulk's really cool. Black Panther, always classic Avenger.
True.
Thor,
Trinity.
The Trinity.
We get the Marvel Trinity.
Finally back in Marvel.
And which is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. What did you think of the Mark Waid lineup? It was unique, but I was like,
yeah, it wasn't bad. It's fine. It's good. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah.
But I am excited though to again just to touch back on Ghost Rider, and She-Hulk, opposed to, because we are, as we all know, getting Banner back too. So it's interesting to see that we're getting She-Hulk instead of maybe Banner, which with him coming back, that would have been an interesting way to reintroduce him. But
But I'm just happy my boy Banner's back.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting on itself too. And personally, as we've talked in the past too, the whole idea of Cho, like you said, he's kind of ran his course, in my opinion.
And I didn't hate Cho.
No, not at all.
But I think he's had enough. he's been a Hulk long enough, and I didn't like the whole "I'm the totally awesome Hulk." Like he would like do all these Ginyu Force poses.
Wait, is that racist? I don't know.
I don't think
we didn't write it, so it doesn't matter to us. But it is kind of racist if you really think about it.
How?
You know, because we're talking about DPZ. We're talking about Dragon Ball Z, which is Japanimation and anime, and he is Asian descent. It's kind of racist. I've never thought about it that way, but it is. You didn't come up with it. They drew it that way, and I totally agree. The poses is kind of Ginyu Forces, but I think they kind of, I don't know, not thinking about it, it is kind of silly.
So we just went down that rabbit hole for no reason.
Yeah, sorry, just random thought.
Yeah, so we got Banner back, and we're getting some new titles, and they did say that they are going to keep doing with these, new numberings and all that, and we are getting soon the death of Jane Foster, which, have you been keeping up with?
I mean, here and there. I mean, I whenever something big or major goes on, I make sure to pay attention to it. Am I currently subscribing to that particular comic? No, but again, of course, but it is also expected too. I mean, it's been a few months now, or years, since the female Thor. So
I think Jane Foster's had a really good run because they always said that this was going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Because Aaron said we're not going to magic the cancer away.
Surprising, but it is comics. You never know.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a nice story to send off for her. And having Mangog, who's quintessentially Marvel's Doom, they're making her Thor's Doomsday.
Right.
So I was like, did you? Because there's a part of me that when I read some of these comics from Thor from Jason Aaron, I'm like, do you really want to just write Superman?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It makes sense when you look at it that way. But again, like you said, it is something that we've kind of seen. So personally, I'm definitely someone who appreciates an open and closed story. I don't think everything has to be continuous. Especially in comic books, I mean, we get lots of one-shots and things like that. Just it's an open and closed book. And with Jane Foster, I mean, I think this is definitely a good way to kind of send her off, though. I mean, if you're going to do it, make it epic, right? At the very least. So.
Yeah. The other thing that has been talked about, and this is another thing that a lot of people have been really but this is one of the big buzzes about Fresh Start, is that Dan Slott is ending his run on Spider-Man. And we don't know, as of this recording, who he's writing, who's taking his place. Now, he is writing Iron Man next. I didn't
know that, but okay.
I'm half and half on Dan Slott leaving, because on one hand, you got to give the guy credit. He spent almost 10 years on that character when everyone's playing fucking musical chairs with their titles. Right. But he's been consistent. Even longer when they were doing multiple writers on Spider-Man with Mark Waid and all them.
He was still a focal point.
Yeah, he was the focal point and took over. And I really dug Spider Island, but...
it wasn't bad. It was good. I enjoyed it.
But having said that, though, he is... Ow. with Spider-Man.
When you spend that long with a character, you tend to maybe drift apart from him. Just as a normal relationship you would with anything. I'm sure he's probably happy to be getting off at this point, to be honest with you, because it's a breath of fresh air. It's something new creatively. And we all know how us Marvel and Spider-Man fans are. You already know how many death threats he's probably gotten.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Dan, honestly. I don't hate him. It's just that a lot of the creative choices he's done made me go, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably give him maybe a 50-50, maybe a 60-40. I mean, it's not been the worst run by far.
Yeah. Oh, I can point you to some really bad ones.
No, absolutely. Any one of us can.
The main thing with this is that the curious who could take over for Spider-Man after him, and who's going to follow up after that. And Dan Slott, if you want some good Dan Slott books, also Mikey's back. Hi, Mikey. If you want some good Dan Slott books, go check out his Silver Surfer run. That's very Doctor Who, and I actually kind of want him to write Fantastic Four when it comes back. He's so good at
I can see that.
He's so good at science fiction stuff.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, I'm behind that 100%, actually.
Yeah. Because we do know they are coming back at this point.
Oh, yeah. Of course, they have Well, as of now, we still expect for Disney to get the rights for Fox.
But now they're playing nice with it, with Fantastic Four and X-Men, rather than with the Alonso era. Oh God, did they just beat down anyone who was a Fantastic Four X-Men fan? If you were an X-Men fan during like all new, all different Marvel, they fucking hated you.
That is the truth.
In Humans versus X-Men, you guys know, if you've been to my channel, how much I fucking hate that comic. And you hate it, like, you've read that comic book too.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. I mean, there are a couple of things in it that I did like, but overall, gutter trash.
Oh, God. So it is nice that we're seeing, like, they're starting to get back. I'm really interested, because I read the first issue of X-Men Red. It was pretty good for what it was.
But again, with us going into Fresh Start,
it's hard to say.
Who knows what we're reading now is even important. I mean, that's
exactly
the problem. I mean, it makes me want to cancel my subscriptions. It makes me not care what we're dealing with currently, because with Marvel, you never know. I mean, and then the next one, I'll get into that, and then 5 months from then, they'll go, oh, renumberings, one back to 0 or back to 1.
And it's so intimidating to new readers. Right,
and they use the everyone in the comic industry, fans, fanboys, we all like to use the excuses to the reason why we sometimes do reboots or restarts and things like that is to help new readers get in. But it does the complete opposite. It really does. It makes it more confusing. If I, as a new reader, see 15 number ones, what does that even mean? It makes me, okay, that's I'm staying clear away from that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather go, you know, there's got to be a fine line in storytelling that you can keep the numbers continuing, but just make it a clear
jumping on point.
This is a new story, a new arc. You know, like with movies, you know, we're getting Avengers, Infinity War, so we know that this is its own. We've obviously been building up to it, but this is its own thing. So you, as a new viewer, can come in and still watch that.
I wouldn't say that, because you would really have to look back on like Guardians and Doctor Strange and all them.
You really, I think.
I feel like after Infinity War, then you could.
Sure, but that might be a more better example. But I think if you're coming in, the only thing you really need to know, okay, is there's stones, they're powerful. Here comes the guy that has them. That's really all you need to know.
Here comes Barney the bro dude coming to beat your ass.
But truly, that's all you need to know. So it's like, yes, watching every Marvel film. You know, I hate comparing the films to the comic books. Watching them all would have made Infinity War that much better to you as a viewer. But I don't think that if I watched Infinity War and I never seen any of those movies, I'm not gonna like that movie. You know, I can't see that happening.
I'm personally like, after Infinity War, because it's going to be a totally fresh start. Just if you're going to jump into the Marvel movies, which at this point I haven't met anyone who hasn't jumped into the Marvel movies.
I agree. Same thing. Where have you been? Living under a rock if you haven't seen a Marvel movie?
Where have you been 10 years?
Yeah, right?
But
is it like 13 to 20 movies now? I don't even know.
But yeah, like, and that's kind of the thing, is that you, with these new readers, is that, you know, everyone, and the other problem is that you can't, there's no easy answer with this, is that you want to keep the old readers, but you want to bring in new readers, and it doesn't help with the new numbering, because some of these are just continuations of stories that have to go back to number 1. Like, I remember when Mark Waid was doing his Daredevil run, and it went back to number 1, and it was just another story arc of him on the West Coast.
Right.
And I remember going into a comic shop, and one guy reading in Daredevil number 1, he'd never read Daredevil, and he's like, what the hell is this? Why is it number 1 when it's a new story arc? You know?
I mean, that's the big problem. Again, they think that they're doing these things to help get new readers, or this is the only option that they have, but it's really not. They honestly just make it more convoluted and make it harder to follow. Even for avid readers like yourself and myself, I mean, it makes it that much harder for us to follow along. I mean, unless you're on point paying attention, if you stop reading something for the shortest amount of time and you're like, oh, you know, it's been going on another 10 years, and then it's like, but there's been 15 number 1s in between that. It's like, okay.
See, even Mikey is burnt out by this.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all right, boo-boo, it's okay. No, but really, honestly, there's definitely got to be a better way. You know, we've kind of talked about it. you know, and I don't know, and I know it's sacrilegious for me to say, but you know, and I've already mentioned before in the video that I'm someone who can sometimes appreciate an open and closed story. I'm not saying this is the answer. I'm not saying this is something that they have to do. I'm just saying that it might be something that might be in the best interest for us to keep our sanity, keep our wallets from exploding, from spending so much to keep up. Okay, that maybe it is time that, since they keep integrating the movie into the comic books, okay, for us to maybe start a whole new clean slate and just roll with the movies incorporated. I know it's sacrilegious to say, and I hate that I have to do that.
And I think like at some point they might have done that with Secret War if they weren't afraid of losing all the new fans. And plus, you know, New 52 was such a great idea, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think like that was what really, because I feel like that's what Secret War, the end of Secret Wars and All New, All Different Marvel was meant to be, was like just a fresh start. But you know, everything with New 52, and they feared of losing the readers they had, it would have been a clusterfuck. And what we got was inevitably a less clusterfuck, I feel.
No, for sure. I mean, I definitely agree. But I think where Marvel, even in the realm of comic books, they deal with two different types of fans. For better or worse, blessing or curse, the Marvel films have changed the comic books. I mean, there's no way for us to deny that. So, or it's never going to stop, if you will. You know, Marvel, at the end of the day, is owned by Disney. Disney is a company. They want money. That's their whole purpose. Let's just be honest. And if we were in charge, we would be thinking the bottom dollar too. So for any of us who just go, you know, it's all about the art, sure, up until you can't afford to feed your family or go home, you know, or have a home to go to. So I understand it's a business, but you have two types of fans now that go and just look at Marvel. You have comic book fans and diehard fans like ourselves, and then you have the other casual fans. And those casual fans, not that they're bad and not that they're not picking up comics, but you know how many people I talk to, and I'll be like, or so many of my friends will come to me and they're like, oh, so why is this that way? Or oh, I didn't know this character did that. Or you know, let's just, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the Black Panther movie, White Wolf. Oh, what's this White Wolf? Well, what it seems like the direction that they're going in is clearly not White Wolf. So I'm just like, well, this is how it's supposed to be, but that doesn't mean what we're going to get is bad. But unfortunately, the greatness that we got, we're probably not going to get. So now you have these two different types of fans just kind of like not knowing what to do. And instead of them going to a comic book, they're just like, forget it. I'm not going to deal with it. So I think it's time it's again, and I know it's sacrilegious to say, blend the two a little better, and let's just deal with it, roll with it, and let's go from here. Because it's better for us all to get together and all buy the comics than none of us to buy the comics.
I don't know about that. I mean, look at Rebirth right now. Like the only movie influence I've seen is Suicide Squad, where they've been using the movie lineup.
Right. That is probably the only.
That's the only thing I've seen from it.
Well, it's the only thing I would probably use too, to be honest with you. But
I wouldn't say about that. But that's the only movie influence I've seen from them. And the rest of the comics depend on like all. It feels fresh, but at the same time, it feels new. Like. And that's what I think they were trying to do with Legacy, but I don't know, like, it just feels like, and then with Fresh Start, I'm like, well, wasn't Legacy your Fresh Start? And it feels like it just feels like they are trying a little too hard at some points. Now, keep in mind that a lot of the comics are going to be, not every comic is going to go back to #1. Only like a handful of comics are going to go back to #1. And there are going to be like other comics that are still going to be continuing from like 100 such and such.
Right.
So I'm happy that's not a full on like everything's going back to #1. Just only a certain number, and some of them are going to have like dual numbering. Like this is issue 705, but it's number 25 of this run. Which
you see what I mean? We understand it, and we're still like. Our minds are like, well, why? Why does it have to be that way? Or it gets confusing. It really does. I think, again, not to harp back, but there's maybe it's subtitles. That not in terms of like following along with the movie, but like, you know, issue number 425, and then if this is a new start, it just has some sort of the dawning of the Red Hood, you know, something like that, that indicates that it's a new story arc.
Yeah.
This way, because the problem is and this the dividing of fans where you have the casual and the hardcore, which is so funny to me because the hardcore is the one that keeps them afloat, but it's the casual fans that they always pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because they come in big spurts, their profit margin jumps up, okay,
and then
it drops back down, and they rely on us to keep them afloat, and then, oh, we'll throw in another number one. So all those casual fans who still think comics are the, you know, going to make billions of dollars or millions of dollars in the future if I hold on to this number one. So it goes up again because everybody goes and buys it, and then it just drops right back down. It's just an endless cycle. There's a better way. There has to be.
And I don't know, like, does Mark... I don't know who, like, because there's almost a point at some times where it feels like we're back in the 90s, where the whatchamacallit, the, like, design, like, the marketing community.
Right, yeah, no, I would agree.
Like, the marketing community, marketing committee,
yes.
Can't talk. They're in charge, it feels like sometimes, and we all know how that went with Clone Saga, right?
That's a whole can of worms we're not going to open in this episode.
That could be like episode 150 of our comic reviews.
Or we can have that when our clones are here, sitting here, and doing this, because I don't know anyone who likes that saga, to be honest with you. I've never met that and what is it, One More Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, like, somewhere down the road we'll do those stories.
We
just
will.
Not like now. We can't bear with it. The other thing with this, actually, I've kind of run out of things to say other than, you know, the one thing I'm kind of hoping, like, who we get for this, going back to Spider-Man real quick, I'm really pushing for Christos Gage. He hasn't written a lot of Spider-Man, but what he has from Avengers Academy, as well as, what was it? These miniseries called Spider-Man, X-Men, and Spider-Man Fantastic Four, which we probably will talk about somewhere down the road. They're really fun comics. And he really gets the voice of Spider-Man just down to a T. So if anyone, I know he's not a big name at Marvel, but, you know, give him a chance. I think I think he's got it. Who would you want to see take over for Spider-Man?
Again, I mean, it was something I haven't put too much thought in, but I promise I will think about it more and come back at you with the answer to that. But in listening for your reasoning for him taking over, or at least getting a crack at Spider-Man, I think whoever does do it, though, has to, like you said, understand the voice of Spider-Man. It's so easy to write a Spider-Man story. You could, you know, all the antics and the superpowers, and that's great. But it's in the times where he's in his own head that make Spider-Man Spider-Man. It's our voice, essentially. So if you're not that, like, if you know, the guy who was the most popular kid in school, the jock, you know, the captain of the football team who had any girl he wanted in high school, went on to college to be a superstar, you know, he can't come and write Spider-Man. He wouldn't understand. Where he may like Spider-Man and he may be a fan, and that's great. But he would not be able to bring the heart to that character. So I think whoever does, and I promise I'll start thinking about it, because you hit me with that question a little earlier and I never even thought about it. But whoever does it, I mean, especially with him being the flagship character, I mean, he is their Superman, their Batman. He needs to be our voice. So whoever does do it needs to understand the character through and through.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we've got so many other titles coming out, like, for this. We've got a Black Panther story where Wakanda is going to be out in space.
Yeah.
That's actually, like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it really does. I mean, it's actually kind of also where they're kind of been going currently in their comics as well. In Black Panther too, like, there's been all that in kind of leading into that direction. So that works perfectly for me. Like you said, it makes sense. You know, I think we're going to find out more and more about where vibranium comes from and all of that stuff. So I'm definitely digging that, liking what I see so far, and I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, I guess, like, I mean, anything, like, just for shits and giggles, like, anything could happen, you know, at Marvel right now. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm like half expecting every comic I read from Marvel is like, So when are Dipper and Mabel from Gravity Falls going to show up, right? No, really, because I am so like Marvel it will just pull shit out just for shock value and try to get away with it because like I'm half expecting every comic I read for them to show up because not because of just Disney owns them, but because like I half expect them to do that just for shock value alone. Like Gravity Falls is in Marvel Universe. Get ready for Gravity Falls #1. Because they would do that.
Now that I think about, after my analogy of the jock can't come through and write Spider-Man, maybe that's what happened. I think they hired on all these guys who only sees Marvel for its explosions and big special effects and all the glitz and the glamour, and that's what they focus on. And maybe that's what they did. They hired these guys in who think, oh, we got to get them with the shock value, instead of telling us good quality stories. Yeah. Maybe that's what they did.
And I really dig Kamala Khan, or Kamala, I can never figure out the right pronunciation. Miss Marvel. For that, you know what I meant. I really dig that character, and I think a lot of the cool stuff with it was her. And I actually kind of liked her better when she was on her own. Like it felt like when she, not like on her own, but like her own title, not like in Avengers. Well, I did like her dynamic with Miles and Sam Alexander.
Right.
And I dig Miles. Like, Miles is still one of the best new characters.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Definitely the best thing to come out of the Marvel or the Ultimate Universe, for sure. I'm with you on that. I like her more independent than in that team. As much as I don't mind that incarnation of the Avengers. I don't look at the Avengers as a team where you have a character and then you have the rookies, and the rookies are learning from the older characters, and you're teaching them how to be better heroes. It's not a bad concept, but it's not what...
If this was an animated series...
Sure, or another team even, I would be fine with it. But just, Avengers are supposed to be Earth's mightiest heroes, and you could be the most powerful child hero, but you're still, unfortunately, just a child hero. Like, your experience level and the things that you've faced, like, you're never going to compete to Superman or to Batman. Yeah. And the Avengers are, at least in this day and age, maybe they haven't always been, but in this day and age, they're the opposite coin to the Justice League. Yeah. You're not going to see, Speedy and Lagoon Boy leading being focal points in Justice League. It's just not going to happen. It's the heavy hitters. That should be what I think that title is.
And that's what Champions, I think, was right. And like, I'm really hoping, like, maybe we can get Young Avengers at some point, because Runaways is back, and I've been really liking Runaways, the comic. Right. And I'm hoping, like, we get Young Avengers back. I mean, I would like to see, because they've been talking about, like, I think Eli...
That would be perfect for them. Yeah. Young Avengers is the team that goes through the trials and tribulations to become an Avenger. Yeah. You're not an Avenger and learn the ropes to become an Avenger. That
title gave us, like, Kate Bishop,
yeah,
Eli Bradley, and all these other great characters. But no one wants to talk about, like, Kate Bishop is still around in Hawkeye, and Eli, I heard, is coming back at some point. And have they just forgotten, Teddy and Wiccan?
Yeah, probably. I mean, well, again, you got to think there's ties to mutants, and we don't talk. Well, up until recently, we don't.
Technically, Hulkling is more like a Skrull Kree hybrid.
Well, true, but I meant more like Wiccan and things like that. And, but again, any connections to mutants, I think, kind of also they own the Skrulls too. Fox had the Fantastic Four and the Skrulls, so. Yeah. There you go. I mean, that's probably why it's like, oh no, you want to tell a story with these guys? No, but now that we're trying to play nice with Fox again, Marvel, could you please re-retcon that god awful retcon you did in Axis with having Scarlet Witch and Magneto and Quicksilver not be his kids? His kids. Yeah.
Oh God, what in the hell was Axis?
A retcon to a retcon. You gotta love those, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen. But then again, if they do take ties from the movieverse, who knows? I mean, the Infinity Stones is probably going to be what made them and keep it in that way. Who knows? I mean, but they do have to do something. I think there has to be a middle ground between the two. I mean, we can all be on the opposite side of the fence on this. I hate to keep going back to it, but you have your purists that are like, no, and then you have your other ones that are like, I could care less about what goes on in the comic books. Yes, I'm with you on that. I am a purist, but I do realize that the influence is going to come anyway. I'd rather it come by my terms, you know, for them to do it for us on our side of the fence than to do it for the casual fans. Because if it's going to happen, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's no denying that it's going to happen. It's going to keep on happening. And after, like you said,
the next amount of time, we're going to be completely burned out on them.
Yeah, and then once we actually get X-Men into the Marvel Universe, that's just going to be a whole new can of worms. That's probably going to change your favorite mutant. And you know, other than Spider-Man, I mean, the X-Men. Let's not be coy here. The X-Men are the most popular characters they have. You know, that throughout the '90s, that's what brought them. I mean, the '90s cartoon. You got, you know, as a whole, they're still probably more popular of a team than the Avengers if the movies didn't exist. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just going to be mayhem once they get here. And I think when we find out that the original team wasn't Beast and the original team wasn't, you know, Scott Summers, it's going to piss off a lot of people. So I'd rather, if it's going to happen by our terms than not. So, yeah. Anyway.
So I think we've pretty much talked about this. So you guys tell us in the comments below, what do you guys think of Marvel Fresh Start? And we'll talk about more news when we find out more.
Of course.
So, yeah, that's kind of the initial thoughts. So you guys tell us in the comments below.
All right, guys. Till next time.